Hi, and welcome to another episode of Project Bikes and Cars. If you've been following along, then you know that this is our 67 C10 that we pulled out of our backyard after being dormant for decades. Anyway, in this episode, we're going to put fresh oil in it, get a fuel pump so we can get the fuel to the carburetor, and we get it running and idling. Now, the next thing we'll want to do is put some water in the radiator so we can run it longer and we can maybe dial the engine in. Didn't want to let it run too long and get too hot. So if you'll follow along, that's what we're going to do next. Also, to the legions of fans that have questions, what I mean is you, Larry, he had a question about our first video where we had our telephone van, Ma Bell, that we were going to sell on Bring a Trailer. And basically they said, no. So we put it on eBay for a couple of times. Didn't really go anywhere, so I tried it on Marketplace again. And lo and behold, a really nice guy from Tennessee drove down with a trailer and picked it up, and he got it about the telephone van, mid-70s, the whole 70s vibe. Really liked it. So he's in the process of making it his own, fixing it just like he wants it. He said it even contacted a sign painter to reproduce the South Central Bell logo. It's going to be pretty cool. Can't wait to see it. Anyway, let's get after it. Okay, we've put a gas can on the floor here and use a 3/8 fuel line to run to the fuel pump. And we have primed the pump from the top here. The line from the fuel pump comes up to here. So we're watching for fuel to come out of here, although we've got no real hope that it works. But we're going to fire it again with the fresh oil in it and just to hear it run for a minute. And watch for this to see if any fuel comes out of this. Hit it again. One more time. We'll get. Oh man. Okay. All right. That's good. No sense in beating on it. We're gonna have to put a fuel pump in. Okay, it's the next day. We have our fuel pump. So we're gonna install that. Should be the last thing we need to get it to hopefully idle and run. So that's what we're gonna do now. Okay, we've installed our fuel pump. We've run our fuel line. We've installed our remote start so I can stand out here and try to start it. So you guys at home, man the fire extinguishers. Since I just installed a fuel pump, I was going to go over a mechanical pump and some of the problems you'll run into installing a mechanical pump. Now, we'll say that the engine is over here. The back of the engine is over here, the front of the engine is here, and this has got an opening where it goes. Now, there's a shaft that goes to the camshaft, and the cam has a lobe on it, and it pushes the shaft up and down, and pumps this fuel pump right here on the shiny spot. Now, this is the inlet side that comes from the fuel tank. This is the outlet side that goes to the carburetor. You know, 4 or 5 psi, nothing fancy. Now, when you take this off, that shaft is going to slide down. I mean, it's just going to slide down and be in the way, and you're going to have a fit trying to push it back up in there. And if the cam lobe is around, the shaft is going to be down too far to ever get this back in here. So what you do is there's a plate that goes between this and the block. Take the plate off, pull the shaft out, clean it off, put grease on it on the upper end, slide it back up, and it'll stay. If you don't have room because the shaft is down too far, rotate the engine. You can bump it or you can turn it by the fan, get it back out of the way, and this will be simple to push back in there. Put a new gasket on it, and it'll go right back on there. No sweat. That's the easy way. Okay, we've got our auxiliary fuel hooked up, and we're going to give it a go, see if it'll fire. So I'm going to call that a success. It runs, it idles. I'd really like to tune it more, but the battery's down and I need to charge that up and put a deep charge in it. The fuel pump is leaking a little bit. I just need to tighten up a few things, but it runs. Next thing is get the dwell set, the timing set, adjust the carburetor, and it's got some obviously like a dead miss somewhere. It's probably another bad spark plug. So we're going to address that, but we're not going to do it today. It is so hot. It's getting late. I'm going to call this one, but success. Okay, it's time to put some water in the radiator and check and see how many leaks we've got. Mike, you want to make a bet on it?
More than 8 and less than 12.
Okay. You know, I smell coolant. And as a matter of fact, I see some coolant. Okay, I got it to fire, and I was going to set the timing. I got my timing light out, hooked it up, couldn't see the marks, timing marks. They were just too vague, so I went and got a marker and tried to mark it so I could see when it comes around the strobe. So we're going to fire it back up and try to dial in the timing. This belt is just coming apart. Well, as discussed before, we knew we'd probably have a leak somewhere. And there it is. That's probably the heater core. And that dripping right there is probably the fuel pump, because you forgot to remind me to tighten the fuel pump. So I'm going to blame it on you guys. So tomorrow when we pick it up, we're going to have to make sure that we've got a new belt, because this one has, I just broke the bolt off. That's always fun. Yeah, check this belt out. Yep, we got all the good out of that one. So here's where we are. Runs good. Takes the throttle. I'm sure the accelerator pump in the carburetor is dry rotted and not good, because it bogs a little bit, but it's working. The coolant is circulating. I've set the dwell, set the timing, cranks and runs pretty good. So those are all the things you need to be happy about. And the bad things is, I think I mentioned that I had a leak on the fuel pump. It's still leaking, and it's leaking at the heater core, pouring out on the floor. So I got to bypass the heater core. But I think that gives us a good place to stop right here. And if you can tell, it's hot and bending over a hot motor in, it's got to be 100, 110 here in the warehouse. So I'm going to call it a day. And I think we made a lot of real progress today. So I'm happy with that.